After more than 3 decades of implementing a family planning or one-child policy, Beijing has suddenly discovered that this policy is having a very noticeable effect on its demographics, so obvious that it's scaring them. China's population is rapidly declining. Following a long delay, in May 2021, China's national census was finally released. Statistics show that the total population of China is a little over 1.4 billion. However, many population experts have questioned this figure. We published a video in May and analyzed in detail that the different figures provided by the Chinese officials aren't consistent and are probably heavily fabricated. The Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, is well aware that various crises are emerging in Chinese society. Two of the most significant ones that could shake the foundation of the country and the government are the shrinking and aging population. According to China's 2021 statistical yearbook, the number of newborns in China was expected to be less than 10 million. Following the release of the national census, Beijing quickly changed its family planning law to allow a third child. Yet, only 5 years ago, the Chinese government had relaxed its policy to allow 2 children per family. At the time, a saying was circulating online that went like this: "There aren't enough sheep, and even the wolves are getting anxious." Indeed, the CCP is quite anxious. Let's take a look at how the Chinese government is urging people to hurry up and have babies. First, hospitals have stopped performing sterilization procedures. On September 27, 2021, the Chinese State Council announced on its official website that it would reduce the number of abortions that aren't medically necessary and regulate infertility clinics and the use of human-assisted reproductive technology. Alarmed netizens became concerned that the state will tighten its control over related procedures. Although no official order has been issued to ban vasectomies, word is spreading that men who want to undergo such procedures are in for a lot of trouble. In a report in the Washington Post on December 9, 2021, a 30-year-old man from China's Fujian province was denied access by 6 hospitals in his hometown for a vasectomy. He then went to a place that was about 2,000 kilometers away from his hometown to get it done. After the procedure, he uploaded the details of the clinic to the internet, but was told by another netizen that the hospital had stopped providing the services. Another story is about a 32-year-old new mother who had 2 miscarriages before finally giving birth to her son in 2020. She had an emergency cesarean section. Both she and her husband have decided not to have any more children. In April 2021, they started to inquire about a vasectomy, but 2 hospitals rejected their requests. One of the doctors confessed that under the government's new family planning policy, this type of surgery wasn't allowed. Secondly, more fertility clinics are being set up. 12 jurisdictions in China, including Shanghai, have released a document, Human-Assisted Reproductive Technology Application Plan 2021 to 2025. Some provinces plan to add as many as 20 fertility clinics in the next 5 years. A team of academics at Peking University released a report stating that the infertility rate in China had risen from 12% to 18% between 2007 and 2020. Meanwhile, more than 10 Chinese provinces have passed regulations that have or will soon implement extended maternity leave. As a result, the maternity leave for women has been extended from 128 to 158 days in many regions. However, it's known that the extension of maternity leave increases the burden on businesses and makes it more challenging for women to be employed. The Chinese government has offered no response concerning the matter. When taking the maternity issue for female employees into consideration, Chinese enterprises have found that the labor cost of female workers is 1.8 times higher than that of male workers. As a result, many Chinese companies are reluctant to recruit female employees. The China Youth Daily reported on December 7, 2021, that a survey conducted by the School of Social Sciences of Zhejiang University of Science and Technology on more than 7,600 people in 25 provinces showed that having a first child reduced the wife's chances of employment by about 6.6% and decreased the total household income by about 5.6%. Having a second child reduced the wife's chances of employment again by 9.3% and decreased the total income for a family with 2 children by about 7.1%. Third, party members are encouraged to lead the way. On November 23, 2021, the Chinese official media, China Report, published an article titled, party members and cadres should take action to implement the three-child policy. It was reproduced by many top Chinese media outlets and received 5.7 million hits on China's social media, Weibo. China Report is a national monthly magazine run by the propaganda department of the CCP. The article says, no party member and cadre can stay unmarried or not have children for this or that subjective or objective reason, nor can they have only 1 or 2 children for this or that reason. It also states that the implementation of the three-child policy is the responsibility of every party member and cadre to shoulder and the obligation of every party member and cadre to fulfill. Some party cadres can no longer have children because of their age and health, but they can actively and proactively educate, guide, and enable their own family members or those around them to actively and consciously implement the three-child birth policy. Never ignore or let your family or people around you not get married nor have no children. Or, never ignore or let your family or people around you have only 1 or 2 children under such and such excuses. The report received much ridicule from the Chinese people. One comment read, "In the future, when one goes on a blind date, people will no longer ask how many houses one has. Instead, they will ask, 'Are you a party member? If so, then it's time to say goodbye.'" Another person wrote, "Many party officials have illegitimate children, so there should be no worries. Take Lai Xiaomin as an example. Lai Xiaomin was a corrupted official who was executed in January 2001. The comment said he had more than 100 children and had already exceeded his quota by a wide margin. Probably because it attracted so many negative comments in a short period of time, the article was deleted from all official Chinese websites after only 1 day. The CCP knows that some things cannot be advocated publicly, but it doesn't mean that it has given up on the idea. Fourth, there's an initiative to help single women find husbands. In July 2021, an official notice was circulated on the Chinese internet that the Shanghai government had approved a large love fair to be held on the weekend of July 3rd and 4th in a square near Shanghai's People's Park, where 350 single women from a nearby city would set up stalls and hang out signs to solicit marriage from single men in Shanghai. The notice claims that those single people should make their own positive contribution to the three-child policy by using the so-called 3-speed actions of quick love, quick marriage, and quick childbirth. The person who posted the notice said that the higher-ups asked for 350 single women from Suzhou to come to Shanghai to set up a booth and list their names. There were no requirements on age, qualifications, or background as long as they hadn't stopped menstruating and were able to have babies. Once there was enough women, they would be taken to Shanghai by bus, set up a booth on the square, and openly court Shanghai men. Once the man and woman were matched, they were urged to get married and have babies. If the scheme was successful, local officials would be considered to have attained a political achievement that could lead to a promotion. The notice was posted on Chinese social media Weibo. It has sparked a lot of debate. One netizen said that instead of having a sign of matchmaking, it should be directly marked as breeding. Fifth, childbirth is tied in with home buying. In 2021, China's real estate market suddenly cooled off due to government regulations. In the face of an era of 3 children, clever local governments have tied the property market to childbirth, intending to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. There is a system of housing reserve funds in China. It's a long-term housing savings fund for employees, where both the employee and the employer pay the same amount of money and it goes to the employee. Employees who contribute to the reserve fund can apply for a loan which has a lower interest rate than commercial ones. For example, in a relatively affluent southern city starting January 1st, 2022, the maximum loan amount from the Housing Reserve Fund has been increased from $94,000 per household to approximately $126,000 per household for families who meet the following criteria. They must have 2 or 3 children, have made continuous contributions for 2 years, and have applied for the loan for the first time to buy their first self-occupied home. Subsequently, other cities have followed suit and introduced similar policies. One city in Jiangsu province offers discounts for families with 2 or 3 children on the purchase of a 1,000 square foot commercial home, with discounts ranging from about $3,000 to $6,000. Beijing and Guangdong are now offering incentives in the rental housing market. There is a type of home whose property rights belong to the state and are called public rental housing that offers rental fees 20% lower than the market price. According to these governments, families with 2 or more minors can enjoy preferential treatment. Some of the benefits are that those families waiting in line for public rental housing can move up in the line, and some are given more rental space. For example, the Shenzhen government has announced that families with 5 or more members can have more than 753 square feet of public rental housing. Some of the most generous incentives are from the more remote cities of the central and western provinces, where counties have announced high subsidies for home ownership in the range of $4,000 to $6,000. For Chinese families, the cost of housing and education is very high. A 2019 report on the ratio of home prices to income in 50 Chinese cities showed that the ratio in Shenzhen was 35.2, which means that it took the average Shenzhen family more than 35 years to afford a home. The home price to income ratios in Shanghai and Beijing were 25.1 and 23.9, respectively. Upon careful examination of the above housing benefits, it's evident that despite the loud slogans, the amount of cash benefits that governments are willing to give out to the public is very small, almost negligible.
Have we Northeasterners become a hot topic again these days? Experts want us to have 3 children, seeing that we have negative population growth in Northeast China. I just want to know, can you experts find another generation to harass? When we were young, we were told that it was good to have only 1 child. Yes, now all of us are having only 1 child. Each family has only 1 child. When we grow up, you tell us to have 3 children. I don't even know how to raise 1, and you want us to have 3. It's ridiculous. Are you giving us a home or money? Or are you giving us a car or a job? I have 4 old parents here, and you want me to have 3 more children. Children who are waiting to be nursed. You can just kill me. Can you please have another generation of people to torture? You can have more babies. You experts are rich, and you can afford to have more children. Your genes are good too. What the hell? I get angry whenever we talk about this.
From forcing the one-child policy to encouraging 3 children, the CCP has made a 180-degree shift, sending an unmistakable signal to the outside world that China is in the midst of a population crisis. According to a report by the Chinese media 21jingji.com, the family of 3 is no longer the dominant family model in China. In 1982, the average number of people in a family was 4.41. By 2020, it dropped to 2.62 people in a household. China's household pattern has shifted over the past decade to one of living alone, or with a husband and wife. One-generation households refer to people of the same generation living together or living alone, such as dink families with dual income, no kids, and empty nesters whose children have left home. The proportion of one-generation households has reached 49.5% in 2020, making it the dominant household pattern. This is the result of the declining total fertility rate, the aging demographic, and population mobility. For young Chinese, the reasons for not having children are various. They range from high housing prices that keep the cost of living high, the expense of educating children in the cities, the social problems that abound in the red system, to the new generation who prefer to pursue their own lifestyles. All of these are serving as invisible contraceptives for this country. In demography, a total fertility rate of around 2.1 means that a couple has an average of 2 children to ensure normal population replacement and to keep the total population of the next generation from increasing or decreasing. Once it drops below 1.5, there is a possibility of falling into the low fertility trap, at which point it becomes very difficult to raise the fertility rate. According to China's official figures, the fertility rate in 2020 was only 1.3, and it was based on the inflated official data. According to a Chinese population economist, the more fiscal spending on family benefits, the higher the fertility rate is. For every 1% of GDP spent on family benefits, the fertility rate will increase by about 0.1 children. Thus, to raise China's fertility rate to the developed world average of 1.6, it would cost 5% of China's GDP, and to raise it to 2.1 would mean 10% of GDP. It's clear the Chinese government doesn't have the funds in place for a generation of children to grow up, and even if it did, the corrupt bureaucracy has little incentive to pass the money on to the people and do their part for the country. China's sizable population advantage, also known as the demographic dividend, has created a booming economy for the Communist Party. However, the fruits of economic development have mainly been exploited by the Communist Party's powerful and wealthy, while the general public is living under heavy pressure and many are still struggling to survive. In any case, that period of history where China wins by cheap labor has now passed. On October 13, 2021, China's Southwest University of Finance and Economics released a public survey. It shows China's economy has plummeted since 2021, and the public is skeptical about economic development, with only 28% expecting the economy to improve in 2022. As many as 79% of young people believe that marriage and childcare will greatly reduce their spending and quality of life, prompting them not to want to have children. The poll is very relevant to reality. Communist Party leader Xi Jinping is likely to be re-elected in 2022 and will maintain strict regulations in all areas, making the economic outlook gloomy. The decline in the average income of young people will accelerate the decline in the fertility rate and exacerbate the delay in the childbearing age. Young people in China have begun to advocate the doctrine of lying flat. That is, they don't buy a home, nor a car, nor get married and have children. They don't spend money maintaining a minimum standard of living. Although this is hardly the mainstream of young people in reality, lying flat has become a kind of hope amidst hopelessness for many people. Many Chinese people subscribe to a viewpoint, that is, the common man is born to be a leek, to be exploited and harvested. In China, the demographic dividend means that one is part of the population, but the dividend is someone else's. Those new generations in China who don't want to have children have said directly, "I won't have children, let the leaks end in our generation."